There is something deeply wrong with the human brain when it comes to fear. It doesn't warn you loudly, it whispers. A cold feeling at the back of your neck, a pull in your gut that tells you something nearby isn't right. And the worst part is, most of the time, you ignore it. I ignored it for 11 days straight. It started on a Tuesday in late October. I was 17, working a closing shift at a grocery store 2 miles from my house. My mom usually picked me up, but that night her car broke down and she couldn't make it. It was fine, I'd walked that route before, 10:30 at night, cold air, empty sidewalks, nothing I hadn't handled before. I had my earbuds in, hoodie up, just moving fast and minding my business. That's when I noticed him. Standing at the far end of Garrett Street, just past the amber glow of a streetlight, tall, unnaturally tall, wearing a long dark coat that fell past his knees. He wasn't doing anything, not checking his phone, not walking, not waiting for a cab, he was just standing there, completely still, facing my direction. I slowed down for half a second, then told myself I was being paranoid and kept walking. By the time I turned onto my street I glanced back out of habit. He was behind me now, maybe 150 feet back, walking slow, steady, like someone who had nowhere to be but wasn't in any rush to get there either. I picked up my pace, got inside, locked the door, stood in the hallway breathing. I told myself it was a coincidence. A guy walking home late, same as me, nothing more. The next night I saw him again, same coat, same height, same slow deliberate walk. This time on Morrison Avenue, which was in the complete opposite direction from where I'd seen him before. I hadn't taken the same route. I'd actually changed my path that second night just to feel better about myself, and there he was, standing under a dead streetlight. The bulb above him flickering like it couldn't decide whether to stay on. He turned his head when I passed. That was the first night I ran home. And the last night I tried to convince myself there was a reasonable explanation for any of this. By the fifth night I started keeping notes. I know that sounds strange, but when something scares you and nobody else can see it, writing it down feels like proof. Like at least you have a record. So every night after I got home I opened my phone and typed exactly what I saw, the street, the time, the distance between us. How long he walked behind me before I turned the corner. The notes made it worse, because the pattern didn't make sense. He appeared on different streets. Never the same one twice in a row, sometimes north of my house, sometimes south, once all the way near the park on Birchwood, which was a 30-minute walk from my usual route. I hadn't told anyone I was going that way. I'd decided on a whim halfway through my shift just to mix things up, and he was already there. Not following me from a distance this time, standing directly under the entrance arch of the park, hands at his sides, face angled toward the path I came from, like he'd been informed. I stopped walking entirely that night, just froze on the sidewalk maybe 80 feet from him, and for the first time I really looked at him. He was tall, well over 6 feet, maybe more. The coat was dark, wool maybe, buttoned all the way up to the collar. His face was shadowed in a way that didn't quite match the available light. I couldn't make out features clearly, just the shape, the outline of something that looked like a person. That he didn't move, neither did I. Then a car passed between us and I bolted. I called my friend Marcus that night and told him everything. He laughed at first, then heard my voice and stopped laughing. He told me to call the police. I told him what I'd say. "Officer, there's a tall man who walks slowly behind me at night. He's never touched me, never spoken. He just shows up on different streets and stares." I could already hear how that sounded. Marcus got quiet, then said, "Just don't walk alone anymore." So the next night I asked him to come with me. The man didn't show, not even a glimpse. Marcus walked me home. We talked, laughed a little, and I almost felt normal again. I thought maybe the company broke whatever pattern this was. Maybe whoever he was, he'd moved on. I should have kept Marcus with me every single night, because the night after that I walked alone again. And the man was back, closer this time, maybe 60 feet, he was learning my pace. On the 11th night I made a decision. I wasn't going to keep being afraid, I wasn't going to keep adjusting my route. Checking over my shoulder, running the last block home with my heart in my throat, I was going to take a completely different path. not slightly different, radically different. A route that added 40 minutes to my walk, cutting through neighborhoods I barely knew, streets I had never once taken home from work. I planned it during my shift. Drew it out on the back of a receipt. I told nobody. I didn't want anyone knowing the path just in case that somehow mattered. I clocked out at 10:45. Walked out the back of the store and turned in a direction I had never turned before. For the first 20 minutes I felt something close to relief. The streets were quiet but different, new houses, different streetlight colors, a laundromat still open with orange light spilling out onto the sidewalk. I didn't see anyone, no one behind me, no tall silhouette waiting at the end of a block. I let my shoulders drop, let myself breathe. I remember thinking it's over, whatever this was. I just needed to break the pattern. That I turned onto a street called Aldrin Place. It was narrower than the others, lined with older houses set back from the road. Big oak trees dropping wet leaves across the pavement, and halfway down the block, under a streetlight I would never have walked under on any other night of my life, he was standing there waiting. I stopped, my whole body locked up. He was facing me directly this time, not angled, not sideways, directly. His hands were at his sides and he was completely still, the coat, the height, the shadow where his face should have been, all of it exactly the same. On a street I had chosen at random 40 minutes ago, I couldn't move. I stood there for what felt like a very long time. Then he took one step forward, just one, slow, deliberate, like a period at the end of a sentence, and something about that single step broke whatever had frozen me in place. I turned and ran, not jogged, not hurried. I ran as hard as I have ever run in my life, back the way I came, through streets I didn't recognize. My breath ragged, not looking back once. I made it to a gas station, burst through the door, stood under the fluorescent lights shaking. The attendant asked if I was okay. I told him to call someone, anyone. The police came, 2 officers, patient, professional. I told them everything, the 11 nights, the notes on my phone, the different routes, Aldrin Place. They listened without interrupting, which somehow made it feel more serious, not less. One of them took photos of my notes, the other went outside and walked up and down the block for a few minutes. There was nobody there, of course there wasn't. They told me they'd increase patrols near my usual route, gave me a non-emergency number to call if I saw him again. One of them, an older guy with tired eyes, looked at me before he left and said, "Trust what you feel, son, don't talk yourself out of it." I've seen people ignore the thing that scared them and it didn't go well. I haven't walked home alone since that night. My mom picks me up now every shift. On the nights she can't, Marcus comes. I changed my schedule to avoid late closings where possible. I know that sounds like letting something win, maybe it is, but here's the part one haven't been able to explain to anyone, the part that still keeps me up sometimes at 3 in the morning when the house is quiet. When I got home that night after the police left, I sat on my bed and went through every note I had typed, every street, every sighting, every detail I had recorded for 11 days. And I realized something I hadn't noticed while it was happening. Every location he appeared, every single one, was on a street with a broken or malfunctioning streetlight. Flickering, dead, half-lit, every single one except Aldrin Place. The light above him on Aldrin Place was working perfectly, bright, steady, full strength. And he was still in shadow, standing directly beneath it, still dark in a way that had nothing to do with the light. I haven't seen him since. And I want to be clear, that doesn't make me feel safe. Safe would be understanding what he was, safe would be a reason, a motive, a face. What I have instead is 11 nights of notes, a route I'll never walk again, and the very specific memory of a man standing under a working streetlight, casting no shadow at all. Whatever he wanted, I don't think he's done. I think he's just waiting.